Trump said he could take Cuba. That line got attention. But the real story is not the quote. It is what is already happening 90 miles from Florida right now. Cuba is not having a bad month. Cuba is failing one system at a time. A country does not collapse in one dramatic moment. Weakens the way a building weakens, one load-bearing wall at a time, till something gives. First wall is power. Cuba's electrical grid has been failing repeatedly. Hot occasional outages, pulling blackouts lasting 8, 12, 16 hours in a day. When the grid goes unreliable, nothing downstream works properly. Food storage fails. Water pumps lose pressure. Hospitals operate on generators that run out of diesel. That is not a power problem. That is a survival infrastructure problem, wearing a power outage as its face. Second wall is water, and electricity cannot run the pumps consistently. Water distribution breaks down. Families collect water in buckets. Hospitals lose reliable access. Sanitation degrades. 2021, a father in Havana named Jorge Luis told Reuters his family had not had running water in 4 days. It was not describing an exception. It was describing a neighborhood. Third wall is healthcare, broken equipment, and staff who have fled the island by the thousands. Doctors who trained inside the Cuban system are now practicing in other countries. Ones who remain are working in conditions that would not be acceptable in any functioning state. Fourth wall is food, import-dependent and unable to pay for what it needs. Cuba is rationing staples. The state-run bodegas that are supposed to provide basics are increasingly empty. A woman in Santiago de Cuba told the Associated Press last year that she had not seen cooking oil in the bodega for 6 weeks. She was not angry. She said it matter-of-factly, the way people talk about things that have become normal. That is the most dangerous sentence in this entire story. When scarcity becomes normal, it means the coping phase has begun. When people are coping instead of expecting, the government's credibility shifts. It is no longer being judged on promises. It is being judged on whether life is survivable. That is when the fifth wall starts to crack. Public order. Cuba is not an open revolt. Protests have appeared, and 21, they were the largest since 1994. The government's response has been detention, surveillance, and silence rather than policy change. Silence is not stability. Silence is the management of instability. Here's the domino sequence as it actually runs. Fuel shortages reduce electricity generation. Power failures reduce water pumping and food refrigeration. Hospital capacity degrades. Medicine runs short. Doctors leave. Public health deteriorates. Frustration rises. Protests appear. Government tightens control. More professionals leave. System gets harder to run. The next failure costs more.
Hey, real quick, sorry to interrupt. Look, what you just watched is exactly why I created the Real Estate Crash Bundle. This project walks you through exactly how to protect your position before the next wave hits. This bundle is at a huge discount right now, and I don't know how long I'm going to be keeping it at this price. So I'm going to throw the link down below, and now let's dive right back into the video.
What the history says about where this leads, 1991, Soviet support collapses. Cuba loses 80% of its import capacity almost overnight. Followed was called the Special Period. 5-year contraction so severe that average Cubans lost 20 pounds. Icicles replaced cars. Oxen replaced tractors. A country urbanized by socialism was suddenly growing food in Havana parking lots. Cuba survived it, and it was close. Cuba's last major internal pressure wave produced the Mariel boatlet. 125,000 Cubans arrived in Florida in 5 months. Not because they were invited, because the internal pressure had nowhere else to go. Single event reshaped Florida politics for a generation. It overwhelmed processing capacity, changed the demographics and, the political character of Miami-Dade County permanently. Here's the 90-mile front. When a country this close to American shores enters a systems failure, the consequences do not stay on the island. Coast Guard intercepts of Cuban migrants have been rising. Numbers are not at Mariel levels yet. The direction is clear. Here is what you actually need to watch. Watch the grid. Blackouts keep getting longer and more frequent. That tells you the core infrastructure problem is not being solved. Question is whether the people watching this understand that a failing country 90 miles away is not a foreign policy abstraction. It is a weather system. And weather systems move.